Alright guys and girls, this is a long playing review for Viz on the AMSTRAD CPC, released by Virgin Games in 1991. And wow, where to start with this one? Okay, so this video, well, it's going to have some rude things in it. So if you're watching this with young children, or you may have a dislike of vulgar humour, rude words and exposed body parts, well, click away now. This is Viz after all, and it's not really been dumbed down much for the computer game. For those of you that don't know what Viz is, well, it's a very rude and very British magazine or comic, which is still very much going today actually. It's a kind of parody of kids comics like the Beano and the Dandy, but for grown-ups, packed full of sweary toilet humour and a smattering of satire. It certainly reached its peak in the early 90s when this game was released, hitting a circulation of over 1 million copies per issue. In recent years, it's now below the 50,000 copies mark, but that's to be expected with print media all on a massive decline. Generally though, it's for immature, juvenile and silly old men. Like me then. Although truth be told, before today, I have never actually bought a Viz magazine before, so don't expect me to know everything about it. Although I have seen snippets of it over the years, of course. Before we get to the game, this video was requested by one of my Patreons and members of the AM Squad, Ross Gardner, who is in one of the higher tiers where you can make suggestions for future videos and streams as one of the perks. If you want to consider supporting me and joining the AM Squad, you can do so at patreon.com/Zypho. Thank you. Anyway, let's have a look at the manual first, because this will give you a bit more story about Viz and also what the game is about. So we get a lovely picture here, that's very interesting. And second page, you actually get a full list of credits for all the versions of the game. That's very good actually, that's helpful for me anyway. And then we get the introduction. So, the first issue of Viz magazine appeared on the streets of Newcastle in 1979. Its print run a mere 150 copies. Who'd have thought that 11 years later, at the end of a decade of phenomenal success, Viz would end up trying to flog a mediocre computer game in a desperate bid to make a few extra bob. Viz has been labelled the publishing success story of the century. From its humble roots, the magazine has grown to become Britain's 4th best-selling periodical, with sales of each issue well in excess of 1,100,000 copies. Its characters have become household names. Johnny Fartpants has pumped himself into the annals of comic book history. Buster Gonad's testicles have been preserved in a pickle jar of posterity. Billy the Fish and his Fulchester United teammates have pulled record-breaking TV audiences in their own Channel 4's TV series. And Roger Melly has said bollocks over and over again. Best-selling Viz titles such as The Spunky Parts and The Dog's Bollocks have stormed the book charts. And with growing sales of t-shirts, boxer shorts, alarm clocks, calendars, postcards and various other rubbish, Viz has become a multi-million-pound industry in its own right. But for the 4 full-time creators of Viz, Chris and Simon Donald, Graham Jury and Simon Thorpe, the story still seemed incomplete. There was something still missing. It was as if one great mountain remained unconquered. One precious jewel was missing from their crown. But now that missing gem has been put into place, and the picture is finally complete. And this is it! A computer game of breathtaking mediocrity. If you like computer games, you'll love this one, because it's just like all the rest. So lock yourself in your bedroom, plug in your computer and shove this poxy little cassette, or whatever you call it, in the hole. Your glasses will steam up with excitement as all your favourite Viz characters scurry forth across the screen. Your square eyes will boggle in amazement as these razor-sharp images spring to life as you have never seen them before. But seriously, computers are all well and good, but have you never considered taking up some kind of healthy outdoor pursuit? Something like football or cycling? Well, there you go. Let's get the game booted up at last, anyway. So we're going to be playing the disc version of Viz here because the cassette version is a multi-load nightmare. Over 2 cassettes, 4 sides of 2 cassettes, and we'll talk more about that later. So no loading picture, and straight into a very basic title screen, which doesn't give a very good first impression, but don't worry, the rest of the game from this point onwards is rather excellently presented. And we get a very nice screen here, really nicely drawn, as we choose a character with some very lovely music. So here you can choose to play as Biffa Bacon, or Johnny Fartpants. Can you guess what his power might be? And last but not least, there's Buster Gonad, the man with the infeasibly sized testicles. Yes, really. Do you ever expect to see something like that on your AMSTRAD screens? Well, there you go. So each of these 3 characters, they have their own special powers. And you use tokens collected from a mini game before the main game to use them. And it have the one power takes 1 token, their superpower takes 2 tokens, and which character you choose comes down to preference on which of the powers you think will most suit your play style. Personally, I think Johnny Fartpants in the middle there, which I've chosen, has the best superpower. And here we are on the first minigame. And it's a waggle the joystick type affair. So keep waggling to keep him basically farting and propelling himself up in the air as high as you'll go there. The higher you go, the more tokens you collect. Or 9 tokens, 10 tokens as the clock runs down there. And we got 11 tokens. And we get some top tips that often got featured in the Viz magazine there. There we go. Right, so here we are on the main game with Roger Melly, the man on the telly introducing the race. And this is a racing game, basically, guys. We're on a fun run in the town of Fulchester. And you're racing against the other 2 characters. I'm the guy in the middle there. See with the hand pointing down there just to indicate which player I'm controlling. I'm not going to use any of my power-ups just yet. I'm going to save them. So we've got Biffa Bacon at the top there, and of course Buster Gonad at the bottom. And each of us have our own lanes to stay in. So I need to try and stick in the middle lane as much as possible. When I'm out the lane, you'll see the lane sign flashing top left corner. There's a clock just above the lane sign there ticking down. If I go out the lane, that guy there in the blue, the backpack, appears and throws bricks, so you want to avoid that. And I'm using my superpower there just to get ahead of everyone, which basically I launch a massive fart, propelling me in the air and further forward there as kind of a speed boost. That takes 2 tokens at a time. The 1 token power up does like a smaller fart basically, which might take me over some smaller objects, like perhaps might take me over a log there, but not over the tree stumps. So you can speed up and slow down. As I speed up, the other Biffa Bacon and Buster will speed up and slow down with me. So it's kind of a bit of a rubber banding going on with the opponent racers. So they will slow up or speed down with you, which is kind of a strange thing, really. So it's not really kind of a race as such in the truest sense. It's basically survive to the end, and then hopefully you can blast past them right near the finish line, and then sneak the win. We've got to watch out here. There's Parky's here. If you walk on the grass, the Parky will catch up with you and smack you on the head with the truncheon. Uh-oh. Yeah, I think I've been caught. I'm being smacked on the head there. You've got a distanceometer there in the green. It says got like no meters left, so right near the finishing line. Now this is where I need to start using my tokens. One more bridge to get over. I'm going to use my big 2 tokens there Just jump over the big gap there and get to the finish line. And there you go. So basically you want to save your tokens to right near the end. And I got a lot of tokens on the first bonus level. Now, the subsequent bonus levels is going to pick for me are only going to allow me to get maybe about 4 or 5 tokens max. On that first bonus level, I was able to get like 10 or 11 tokens. On this level, you're lucky to get maybe 4, maybe 5 if you're very, very lucky. You've got a very short time limit here, and you've got to waggle and then hit the fire button at the right moment. Waggle too long and the balloon will explode as you're inflating them from your arse with farts, basically. Actually, really, really nice graphics on this. Another top tip there. I've got used to them from my community, aka Johnny Boy of his top tips if he's watching. Anyway, on to level 2 into the town of Fulchester. So you may have noticed, guys, we have some speech bubbles and speech there as well from within the race from Roger Melly, the man on the telly. There is some swearing in game and stuff, and some bizarre things that will pop up and stuff. So I pre-warned you at the start of the video. I'm not going to read out everything that appears. You can read it for yourself there. So this level, bizarrely, actually has no music at all. So the music you're hearing here, I've added in myself and edited in. This is the music from the character select screen. And I checked out all the different versions of the game, the tape version, some other cracks and dumps of the game. This level is silent on all versions of the game, I found, which is really bizarre. I had Nish from the CPC GameReviews.com site, who did one of the dumps and cracks of the game, have a look at the code for me. There is actually code specific to this level, which actually turns off any music playing, weirdly. And Nish actually had a fiddle with the code and actually removed that check and stopped that happening, but still no music plays. So there is code deliberately on this level to make sure no music is playing, but there isn't any music loaded. It doesn't exist for some weird reason, but there is music on all the other levels in the game. So that's kind of strange. No explanation for that. But anyway, so I've purposely edited in the music here. So this is from the character select screen. Anyway, let's talk about the credits for this game here. So, coding duties was handled by Dominic Wood, who sometimes went under the alias of Syrox, that's S-Y-R-O-X, who also converted 1942 on the AMSTRAD for Elite Software, and also did Super Stock Car for Mastertronic on the budget label. He certainly went on to bigger and better things. After working freelance for Probe, he formed Syrox Developments in 1992, porting big licenses to the Sega Game Gear like the Turbinator, Lemmings, Lion King, the Jungle Book and more. And Syrox later expanded to a team of 16 people into more systems like the PlayStation, N64 and Game Boy Color before being acquired by the Climax Group in 2001, where Dominic went on to head their London studio for a few years. And in the mid to late 2000, it looks like Dominic left the game industry and diversified into technology for marketing and mobile apps. So he seems to have done very well for himself here, and has done a decent job on the coding here. Now the graphics here were split between Simon Butler and Drew Northcott. And I actually had a little chat with Simon Butler, who of course is quite famous from his days at Ocean, on notable games like The Vindicator and Total Recall and many others. And chatting to him, he remembers that he was working freelance at the time, and Probe contacted him to do the sprites, the faces on the panels, the bonus level graphics that you see right now on the AMSTRAD version, and Drew did the background graphics on the main levels. I think all the other graphics are basically Simon's, apart from the background graphics on the racing levels. Simon also did the same on the Specky version, and he was working remotely in Liverpool with Probe based in London. But unfortunately, he has little insight or any other stories about the development of Viz. So unfortunately, there's nothing juicy to share here, I'm afraid, guys. but he does confirm that the C64 was the lead version, and that's what he was given to work from, with a list of graphics needed with size and frame counts, and that was it. He did the job, got paid, moved on. That's the life of a freelancer. He does add that he was paid well by Probe, and that Probe was always good to him. Oh, hang on. We've got appearance of Shaky Stevens. Anyone that didn't live through the 80s will be very confused by this. And so when Shaky Stevens appears here, the controls go really bizarre. So stick to the very top of the screen here, because the controls go all over the place. But yeah, Simon told me that Probe are always good to him, especially Fergus McGovern, the head of Probe, who he says was an absolute gent. Unfortunately, Fergus sadly passed away a few years ago at the far too young age of 50 years old. But I'm always hearing really nice and good stories about Fergus, which is refreshing to hear in an industry where bosses tend to not have such a good legacy. But anyway, thank you, Simon, for talking to me the other day. So appreciate that, Simon. Thank you very, very much. As for the music you're hearing here, this is where it gets a little confusing. The manual states the credits for this to Sound Image, and the conversion to the Atari ST, Amiga Spectrum and Amstrad by Jerome Tell. But I actually think the manual has this the wrong way around, because Jerome Tell never did any Amstrad music. He was a Commodore guy, doing stuff mostly for the C64, then later the Amiga. Sound Images, which is in fact Tony Williams, who's sometimes referred to as Tiny Williams, were often used to convert music to the Amstrad and Spectrum. In fact, Tony's converted a few of Jerome's tunes in the past, such as Robocop 3 and the Specky. Indeed, to my ears, the sounds of the instruments you're hearing here and use is very familiar to a lot of Tony's other tunes on the Amstrad, like Golden Axe, Lemmings and Pang. They're pretty recognisable. So I'm going to say the manual got it the wrong way round and is wrong. Jerome was the original composer, probably on the Commodore 64 first, and Tony Williams converted them to the Amstrad and Specky at least. But I might be wrong, but hey. We're going to use a Brussels sprout fart here. There we go. Just sneaked it there at the finish line. There we go. That's race 3 of 5. So we've got 2 more races coming up here. Also, at the end of the video, I will show you footage of the other 2 characters, Biffa Bacon and Buster Gonad. I will show you their bonus screens and also their special moves in action, so look out for that. But I prefer playing as Johnny Fartpants because he's the only character that when he uses his 2 token special move, he actually jumps in the air as well as rushing forward. Whereas Biffa Bacon and Buster Gonad, they don't jump, they just rush forward. So if they actually hit an obstacle whilst rushing forward, they actually get stopped and take a hit. Or if they try and rush forward over a pit or a hole, they'll actually fall through it. Whereas Johnny Fartpants will jump over that thing. So I think Johnny Fartpants is the best character. The rubber banding though on the on your opponents with you is a really weird thing. I can see why they added it. It's just a sort of a strange feature. So you just survive for as long as you can, basically, and then save your tokens to the end and pray you get to the finish line before the others, basically. It can be quite a frustrating game, like I've already taken a hit there. It can be quite annoying if your lane is the lane that seems to have the most obstructions on it throughout the course, and the other characters just knock you out the way. You can't knock them out the way, or knock them into an obstacle, or knock them into a pit or whatever. It would be more fun if you could like use some attacks on your opponents and actually bash them into things and stuff like that. That would have been really fun to do, but unfortunately you can't. Anyway, let's talk about the other versions of Viz. So, ZX Spectrum, well, 2 colour graphics but more defined sprites. It moves a little faster and smoother. Otherwise basically the same as the Amstrad version. No surprise there, being done by the same team. Commodore 64. Now, this was the lead version, as told by Simon Butler, and I'm very impressed by the visuals. Very nice and colourful for the C64. It moves the smoothest too. The sprites are almost identical to the CPCs, but visually the colours are better on the AMSTRAD. Even so, this is impressive looking and includes some in-game sound effects to go with the music. There's honestly so little between all three 8-bit versions. You choose which you prefer. Atari ST, moving on to the 16 bits, has the exact same music as the AMSTRAD. Makes sense seeing as it's the same AY chip. Gameplay is identical but seems to be a lot harder. But at 20 quid, that's double the price of the 8-bit tape versions. This is not good value for money. It does have better graphics and animation than the 8-bit versions though, but is it worth it? And then onto the Amiga. Poor old Amiga gets a quick ST port that's identical, apart from weirdly the graphics looking murkier and darker. How odd. But has arguably better sounding music and sound effects. And finally, a version was released for the PC DOS, which looks and plays identical to the ST version. But I couldn't get the sound running in DOSBox though. But I listened to the vid on YouTube, it doesn't sound too bad. So there you go. As for magazine reviews, well, as always, I look for the AMSTRAD Action review, and this was reviewed in AMSTRAD Action issue 72, September 1991, and they enjoyed the graphics, presentation and music, feeling it was very much in keeping with the source material, but found the gameplay mediocre, as the manual actually describes the game as, and would only be for die-hard fans of the comic. And they rated the graphics at 78%, Sonic's 70%, the grab factor 72%, staying power 63%, with an overall AA rating of 69%. And ouch, epilepsy warning here of these flashing colours, because we're in the nightclub, or disco, here. Blimey. With the black and green alternating colours there. Doesn't look very nice on the eyes there, because it's not a great frame rate. Oh yes, anyway, yeah, there's those ladies. I'm not sure can we call, is that word allowed these days? The fat SLAGS? And a dodgy joke there from Sid the Sexist. I don't think I'm allowed to use that word anymore. I don't know anymore. Anyway, be careful what you say in the comments, guys, because I found that a lot of comments these days on YouTube are getting sort of shadow banned and stuff. So just warning you. Anyway, so as for my review, well, now what the AMSTRAD Action review doesn't mention, and to be honest, what my reviews rarely mention either, given the luxury of emulation and using disk loads that are available, is what fresh hell tape loads can be and how that should impact on a review score, because this the game is multi-load hell on tape. It's probably the worst I've ever come across. Firstly, this is rare and neither's case of a double cassette, even on its budget re-release. And secondly, because it randomizes the bonus levels to gain tokens before a race, which is a separate load itself, this makes it even worse because you're not loading things in a sequentially one after another, but searching through another side of a tape just for that specific bonus level, then going back to the other tape and a different side for the actual level, if you see what I mean, thus increasing the wait time before you actually play anything significantly like the actual race. And I thought like things like North and South was bad on cassette, but this is just the worst. I mean, really, I have to give separate scores for the tape and the disc versions. There's no other way of doing this. So for the disc version, I'll disagree with AMSTRAD Action in that, well, first of all, I think the graphics, sonics and grab factors should score a lot higher than around the 70% mark. The music is excellent, as is the graphics, apart from maybe this level, the flashing colours. I mean, they're around the 90% mark. Grab factor initially is probably around the 80% mark, but staying power, yeah, probably way below 70%. The game's appeal wears off very quickly, which is the most important here. Oh, as we just win the last race. And it becomes a nicely presented novelty item. So I'll give it a 7.5 out of 10, or if we're talking percentages, 79%. with kudos to the presentation in terms of the graphics and Sonics. Oh, rude word there. But if we're rating the cassette version, not worth your time at all. 3 out of 10, 30%. As we come on to the ending sequence there, he jumps up and down too much, fireworks go off, and the town hall collapses as we get the medal from the mayor. Hey, at least we get an ending sequence there. So, there you go. Disc version, 79%. Tape version, 30%. There you go. All right, guys and girls. Let's take a look at the other characters and their bonus screens and their special moves. So first up here, this is Biffa Bacon. Now he's having, I think it's bricks thrown at him. So you have to press down to kick, right to punch, or up to headbutt, depending on the height of the brick being thrown. And there you go. Lots of tokens to be collected here. 10 tokens, 11. I think you lose a token if you miss. There you go. 14 tokens. So in some of these bonus levels, you can get a ridiculous amount of tokens. And there's his 2 token move there. It gets into like a complete like fist frenzy. And there's his 1 token move where he does like a little punch, which is completely pretty much useless. And so hard to pull off. It only works on certain characters. We're going to use it here, and I managed to punch. I think that's Biffa's dad actually. I managed to punch on this building site level, but you can't punch your other racers, which is a shame. There you go. He actually does go in that frenzy move for quite a long time there, and it actually goes quite fast. And this is his other bonus level. He's in the pub. You've got to waggle the joystick and drink the pints as fast as you can to gain tokens. Again, all really nicely presented. Lovely music, lovely graphics, good animation as well. Managed to get 7 tokens there. He's a character you can get a lot of tokens from. So moving on to Buster Gonad. I have no idea what he's actually supposed to be squashing here. Oh, he's pancake flattening. Right. You just got to waggle the joystick, and then I think you hit the fire button, and you have to squash them twice before moving on. There's a bit of an awkward bonus level that one is to do, actually. More top tips there. So here's his special moves. That's actually the 1 token move there. Actually, it's quite a good speed boost you get from that one. And then the wheelbarrow move there, he puts his nuts in a wheelbarrow. That's for 2 tokens. A long speed boost there. But again, he can go straight into objects there, and that will stop the move. Same with this one. So you've got to make sure you've got a clear path on that one. And here's his other bonus token collecting one. Similar to Johnny Fart Pants's one, so just waggle the joystick. And there you go, guys. That's all you get to see in Viz. Let me know what you think to this in the comments below. And thank you very, very much for watching. Cheers to Ross for the request, and goodbye.
So thanks for watching, guys. I hope you enjoyed that. If you did, please click a like below, leave a comment, and also subscribe if you haven't already. And over that way, there's another video for you to check out. Zypho, out.